Here we are, lads, the Dark Tower of the Sorcerer Kellic. Inside are treasures beyond your comprehension, but the greatest victory will be to vanquish this foul wizard from the face of the realm.
I was to understand lunch would be provided.
Oh, quiet you. Do you want to be a hero or not?
Not if it involves hunger. Who calls so loud?
It is I, Strongheart.
You again?
Again? You said you'd never been here before.
Ha! This is his third attempt to breach my walls. How many more hapless companions of yours must I kill before you go away, strong fart? You told us in the tavern you'd never lost a battle. Clearly, he lied. He could not even escape a dungeon without the help of 7 teenagers.
6 teenagers, Kellic.
You're not helping yourself. Well, since you're here, I might as well take another of your friends from my collection. Now away with you, or I shall kill the woman.
You fiend! Ha ha! What? Ha ha! Ha ha!
What?
Ha ha! Can you believe that ruffian?
Yes, he did your job. We should have teamed up with him. Totally.
We gotta get back to the past, to the 20th century. Digging through the bubble wrap into your memories. Magnus the collector, he's protecting what we find. Relentless heavy rhythms keep us safe through time. RetroBlasting.
This is not a toy.
Just the corners of your mind, RetroBlasting. The stuff you love since you were 9. We're blasting into the past to see what thrill still lasts. RetroBlasting.
Dungeons & Dragons had gone from a controversial role-playing game to popular Saturday morning cartoon in just under a decade. At the same time, TSR partnered with LJN to produce action figures for the Dungeons & Dragons brand. It wasn't to be that simple, though. The action figures hit stores in 1983 at the same time the Dungeons & Dragons cartoon bowed on TV. But you might not have noticed. Where the television show was called Dungeons & Dragons, the LJN toy line was released under the banner Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, and none of the main characters from the cartoon were produced as part of the line. No Hank, or Bobby, or Diana, or Venger, or Dungeon Master. None of them. The main culprit of this disconnect was that Dungeons & Dragons wasn't a cartoon supporting a toy line, nor was the Advanced Dungeons & Dragons toy line a merchandising endgame on its own. In most cases in the 1980s, a cartoon supported either a primary toy line or a video game. In the case of Dungeons & Dragons, both the cartoon and the toy line served to promote the TSR role-playing game. Worse still, they were individually tasked with promoting separate games. The cartoon title reflected the basic game, while the LJN toy line displayed the advanced game logos. As a result, younger kids didn't have figures of the cartoon heroes to entice them to buy into LJN's line. Meanwhile, if you were old enough to be interested in AD&D, you probably weren't buying as many action figures, and more likely you were buying miniatures for gaming purposes. That meant the LJN toys were largely on their own to attract kids. Despite the no-win scenario facing the line, Advanced Dungeons & Dragons stuck around for 2 years, and LJN produced some of the finest action figures of the 1980s. Articulated joints, great detail, and cloth capes provided the line a very rich and polished feel. Each figure represented a class and creature within the role-playing game. Not only were the figures given names, but also class, alignment, and race descriptions. For example, Mercion was a good cleric female, while Zarak was an evil half-orc assassin. Almost in a conciliatory gesture, the Dungeons & Dragons cartoon producers fit a few of the LJN figures into the earliest episodes. The good Paladin Strongheart appeared in the episode Servant of Evil, wielding a magic hammer despite his action figure given only a sword. The evil sorcerer Kellic collected unicorn horns in one episode and attempted to usurp Venger. In one of the earliest episodes, the evil fighter Warduke, arguably the most famous figure in the LJN line, successfully kidnaps Dungeon Master and makes life difficult for the kid heroes. The AD&D figures had a lot of variety to reflect the pantheon of classes and creatures that were in the role-playing game. For example, a few characters like the North Lord and the Ogre King towered over the standard figures, as their races were larger in stature. Others, such as the dwarf Elkhorn and the half-orc Zarak, were much shorter to accurately reflect their appearance in the role-playing game. The cardbacks also provided descriptions of each figure that acted like a primer for those types of characters in the role-playing game. For example, on Warduke's packaging it says, "Fighters use all type of weapons, but their favorites are magical swords. An evil fighter's purpose in life is to become strong and rule over all that he encounters." The accessories were numerous with each figure, and LJN did a great job including belts and scabbards to stow swords and other weapons. In the second year, LJN introduced new characters like Beaumark the Crusader and Grimsword the Evil Knight. Some of the Series 1 characters were re-released with LJN's signature Battle-matic action arms. Some of the figures were re-released with shield shooter accessories, in which the center of the shield would launch away as a spring-loaded projectile. These are quite desirable in today's market and go for high prices. But LJN didn't stop with just the basic figures. They made bendy toys of some creatures and PVC toys of larger creatures like ogres and shambling mounds, as well as army builder packs of men-at-arms and orcs, so kids could build out their collection on a budget. 2 horses were made for the characters to utilize. Strongheart was given Destrier, and Warduke had Nightmare. Both horses utilized the trapdoor and fake legs gimmick that was used by Kenner on the Dewback and Tauntaun. Oddly, Nightmare has tiny rubber feet, while Destrier is a solid brick of plastic from head to hooves. Strongheart was given a second option, with a bronze dragon he could ride. The centerpiece of the LJN AD&D line was the amazing Fortress of Fangs playset. Whether by design or coincidence, the playset bears a striking resemblance to the entrance to the Dungeons & Dragons theme park ride in the cartoon. At the center of this playset was a treasure chest surrounded by a lake of lava. But that was just the beginning of trouble for your figures. Traps abounded in the Fortress of Fangs. Falling axes, collapsing floors, a catapult floorboard, a spike wall to crush trespassers, a chute into lava. This could have been the perfect playset for your Indiana Jones toys. Topped off by a massive bat monster, the Fortress of Fangs is easily one of the best playsets of the 1980s, a place where your heroes and villains will run to when confronted by the holy grail of the LJN AD&D line, the great dragon Tiamat. Tiamat is the most prominent toy in the LJN line to cross over into the 1983 cartoon, appearing in the intro and in the most pivotal episodes of the series. As a toy, Tiamat is quite difficult to find intact. The dragon sports removable wings that are easy to break off, as well as a fragile switch-driven grabbing action with its front claws, not to mention 5 somewhat flexible heads and a tongue-flicking action. The hoopla around Tiamat is a good example of when collectors have a greater obsession with collecting everything than with the quality of the individual pieces in their possession. Tiamat is rather underwhelming, being quite small when compared to the AD&D figures themselves. LJN's Advanced Dungeons & Dragons exemplifies the wide variety of toys available in the 1980s, and the level of quality that LJN put into these figures is commendable. It's a shame TSR didn't work out something with LJN to allow them to produce the heroes from the cartoon. The only options are solid PVC figures from Europe and South America, but those hardly compare with the fantastic toys in the Advanced Dungeons & Dragons line. The heroes of the Dungeons & Dragons cartoon are nowhere under LJN's rainbow.